Hello, cheese friends. Welcome to Cheese Hangouts. I would like to introduce our special guest. Tia Keenan is a New York City-based cook, cheese specialist, writer, stylist, and food industry consultant. She developed the cheese program for the Museum of Modern Art, and pioneered the cheese bar concept by opening New York City's first cheese bar in 2007. Over her career, she has worked with companies like Walt Disney, Murray's Cheese, The Queen's Kickshaw, and Lucy's Way, for example. Keenan's work has been featured in Food and Wine, The New Yorker, Food Network, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and Cheese Connoisseur. Her new book is going to be released Tuesday, September 6th, and it is titled The Art of the Cheese Plate, Pairings, Recipes, Style, Attitude, and the book is published by Rizzoli International. Welcome to Cheese Hangouts.
Thanks so much, Babs. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So I'm very impressed with your new book, and I wanted to know what you would like to accomplish with this book.
Well, I really wanted to make a book that looked and felt and spoke in a way that I haven't seen other cheese books do. I wanted to make something that was really fantastical and beautiful, but also very practical and user-friendly.
Okay, so what about the images? How did you make those? How did you create them?
Oh, it was so much fun to make the images for this book. So first I did, well, let me tell your listeners or your viewers first sort of the general format of the book, which is there's 37, I think, entries, and each entry is a themed cheese plate. And the themes run from anything from milk type to country of origin to occasion for serving. So in order to shoot this book, I had to write the entire outline of all the chapters and what I wanted the themes of the chapters to be. And then I created a spreadsheet for every chapter with notes on what the cheese looked like and what the condiments would look like, and then what I wanted the feel of the photograph to be. So, you know, the instructions were anything from, I want this to look like a ski weekend in Japan, to, you know, I'm the inspiration for this photo is the beautiful antique tiles of Lisbon. And then I was super lucky because Noah Fex, our photographer, was incredible, and we paired with Reclaim Design, which did all the prop styling. So basically I would create a theme, and then Reclaim would come in with goods and materials for that, and then we would all get together. I would do the food styling, we would style the set, and then shoot it. So it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I'm a restaurant person, so I really thrive on collaboration. I loved, you know, having the seed of something and then seeing how other people contributed to that. And Reclaim was just incredible. I mean, their sense of color and the materials that they were able to gather for this book were really incredible. I mean, we worked with dozens of vendors all over New York City. A lot of the stuff in the book is handmade, one of a kind. And then a lot of the stuff in the book was pulled from our own, you know, pulled from my home, and from the homes of the photographer and the stylist. I mean, there's pieces from my grandmother in there. There's pieces from my great-grandmother in there. There's stuff from my mother. There's stuff from my jewelry box. There's stuff from every china cabinet, every kitchen cabinet, and then combined with stuff from some of the most incredible retail stores and artisans in New York City. So it was a really amazing experience.
That is amazing in many ways. But what I want to just point out is that you not only wrote a book with text content. You wrote a book with visual creativity and visual aesthetics, and that's a different dimension from what I'm used to. And so let's talk a little bit about how did you select the cheeses? So it's about 100 cheeses in your book, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. It's 113 cheeses, okay. Not to get nitpicky.
Yes.
I really wanted the cheeses to be accessible. This is a book that is really about people. It's a tool for people. It's a doing book. It's a tool for people to make their own cheese plates. So the way that I chose the cheeses was I asked myself, where is my reader buying their cheeses from? Right. And my answer was they're buying them from nice cheese counters within supermarkets. Mm-hmm. They're buying their cheeses from local cheese shops. They're buying their cheeses from Costco, which is actually, I think, the #1 retailer of specialty cheeses in the United States. Wow. So I really wanted to choose a range of stuff. You know, I think sometimes living in a place like New York City, it's easy to think, oh, you know, like everyone has 20 great cheese shops available to them. And that's just not true. So I really wanted to focus on cheeses that I knew people would be able to find in their towns. Without by any means, without sacrificing quality. I chose the first reason I chose the cheese is because I love that cheese. And then the second would be that it's available. And then I threw in a couple of cheeses that maybe are harder to find, but I just really want to write about and have meant a lot to me personally in my career, and that I didn't want to, I didn't feel that I could leave out in this sort of love letter to cheese that I wrote.
You know, you mentioned that being accessible, and the little town that I live in is just north of Dallas, and it's about 35 minutes or 35 miles to Scardello Artisan Cheese in Dallas. And of course, then there's Austin, Antonelli's, that's a 4-hour drive, and then there's Houston, that's a 5-hour drive. And you know, there's a lot of well, there aren't a lot of specialty cheese places here in Texas, other than, you know, Whole Foods and Central Market and that sort of thing.
Right, so those are legitimate places to buy cheese from, you know.
Right. I appreciate your accessibility, you know, reference. I think that's extremely important. Okay, so I wanted to tell you that I was impressed with the press release that you sent me, including 14 blurbs, endorsements, and I read every one. And by the time I got to the 5th one, I was ready to buy your book. It was very inspirational, yes. But I have to point out one that was kind of caught my eye. Balassa Skinner said that you have an innate ability to bring together fantasy and practicality. Now, we're talking about the cheese world here. Tell us what that means.
Well, you know, I think that's always been something that has been part of what I do. Mm-hmm. You know, practicality in the sense that I understand the market and I understand what people have access to, and I understand how much time is reasonable to ask people to spend on a cheese plate. Yeah. I've always, because I was a restaurant-based cheese person, very different from a retail base. Yes. You know, I always had to see what happened when people ate the cheese that I recommended. When you work in a retail store, you recommend that cheese and then the person buys it and they leave, and often you never see them again. But in a restaurant, you serve them that cheese and you actually watch them eat what you recommended, and you get a really full picture of their experience. And so I think in that way, that's kept my perspective sort of grounded in reality. But then on the other hand, you know, I've always been a creative person. I always knew that I would be an artist, or that I would do something creative for work. I just didn't know what that would look like. And when I started working with food, it was a really nice mix for me of sort of grounded in reality, but also sky's the limit. And so, you know, I really think all of us are innately creative. And the only thing that limits us is our own perception of where we can go with that creativity. And I think I've always felt freedom to create, and at the same time been a working person. And so that's kind of manifested itself in this weird little cheese niche.
Yes.
If that answers.
Well, the good news about being in the restaurant business, from what you just told me, is that you get instant feedback from the customer, because they're there and you're watching them, and you're, you know, whether they know you're watching or not, you're watching, and you're picking up all these different cues. So
yeah, and it often has nothing to do with what the guest or the customer tells you. You know, I mean, you can tell when someone's enjoying something. You can tell by their body language. You can tell by the way they're talking to the people that they're with at the table. You can tell by the look on their faces. You can tell by whether their plate's clean at the end of the meal or not. I mean, there's a lot of cues there beyond just, oh, thank you, that was delicious, which is actually, you know, sort of the least helpful thing for me in terms of assessing what someone's experience was like in front of the plate.
It seems like the best compliment would be if you see them actually putting the plate in front of their friends or their table mates and say, taste this. Here, taste this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do
Right?
think that sharing, the compulsion to share is actually a very high form of compliment.
Okay, so your book is coming out the 6th, next Tuesday, and I noticed on Amazon that it's already available to order, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
and actually, if you order it before September 6th, it's on sale. So if you order it now, you get a good deal.
Oh, wow. I'm glad you brought that up. Wow, I did not know that. Okay. So today, while I was preparing this interview, I snacked on some of my favorite cheeses. And I've got, you know, the fruit and the nuts and the cheeses, probably 3 different types of cheeses. And I'm looking at this plate going, oh my goodness, do I have a lot to learn from this woman, because it was pathetic. I mean, of course it tasted delicious, but it wasn't arranged very nicely. So looks like I got a lot to learn from you.
Well, you know, there's no, I think the number one, the most important thing to remember about pairing and about cheese plates is it needs to be enjoyable. And I can't dictate for you what's enjoyable. You can't dictate for me what's enjoyable. So Babs, if you had a cheese plate earlier today and you were enjoying it, then you did it the right way. And
I did enjoy it. Yes.
Yeah. So then it was a successful cheese plate.
Yeah. But you know, it's I'm married to a kind of a chefy guy, and he's a home cheesemaker, and he loves to. He's a very plate-oriented, aesthetically oriented guy, and he would, if he saw this plate, he would just probably throw me in the lake. I mean, it was. But he, you know, he's very particular about all the settings, and he loves to have it beautiful, and I do too. But when I'm alone, it's not so much. You know, it's more about nutrition for me.
Sure.
So congratulations on your book. Best wishes, and I hope that every parent gets this book and teaches their children how to prepare a cheese plate. I think that would be fantastic.
I'll tell you, Babs, one of the best I've taught many classes over the years, and I think probably the best class I ever taught was to a group of 7-year-olds on how to taste cheese, how to talk about cheese. And it was really a sensory driven class. And it was so fabulous, and one of my all-time great memories working with cheese.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, anytime you do a class for children, please let me know. I want to talk about that more, for, you know, a lot more detail. Not today, but I mean, it's just very interesting to me, because I think that children they aren't taught about the quality of cheese and the beautiful aesthetic, yeah.
Aesthetic.
Yes, thank you. Aspects, and of course the nutrition is important too. So I'm very happy to have you on Cheese Hangouts anytime. Please let us know how it's going, and congratulations.
I've always wanted a friend named Babs, so I'm so
Thanks.
happy to be
I'm your
here.
girl.
Thank you so
I'm
much
your
for
girl.
supporting the book, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and congratulations, and I will start promoting this ASAP.
Okay, thanks so much, Babs.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.